2 Chronicles chapter 28, verse 1, it says, Ahaz was 20 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. He didn't do that which was right in Yahweh's eyes, like David his father, but he walked in the ways of the kings of Israel, and also made molten images for the Baals. Moreover, he burned incense in the valley of the son of Hinnom, and burned his children in the fire, according to the abominations of the nations when Yahweh cast out before the children of Israel. He sacrificed and burned incense in the high places and on the hills and under every green tree. So here we're in the time period of the divided kingdom. The northern 10-tribe kingdom, they were deeply involved with Baal worship and idol worship and all kind of wickedness. And then we have the 2-tribe kingdom in Jerusalem, the line of David ruling from Jerusalem. King Ahaz was the king at this time. He started reigning at 20 years of age. He reigned till he was 36, and he was deeply into idolatry and doing what the nations did, doing what the northern kingdom was doing. And he was burning his children in the fire. You really have to be depraved to be burning your own children in the fire, murdering them. And he was doing like the nations, under every green tree. It seemed that the pagan nations, they always try to find a green tree to do some paganism in. We see the nations today killing their children by abortion. It seemed like it's just nothing big deal. Medical procedure. It's probably the way it felt back here, burning his children in the fire. Oh, it's just something we do. No big deal. It's made it seem like it was holy. So God, as with King Ahaz, he has judgment to bring about because of that. In verse 5 it says, Therefore Yahweh his God delivered him into the hand of the king of Syria. And they struck him and carried away from him a great multitude of captives and brought them to Damascus. He was also delivered into the hand of the king of Israel, who struck him with a great slaughter. For Pekah, the son of Remaliah, killed in Judah 120,000 in one day, all of them valiant men, because they had forsaken Yahweh, the God of their fathers. Zikri, a mighty man of Ephraim, killed Maaseiah, the king's son, Azrikam, the ruler of the house, and Elkanah, who was next to the king. The children of Israel carried away captives of their brothers, 200,000 women, sons, and daughters, and also took away much plunder from them and brought the plunder to Samaria. So here, because of this wickedness of King Ahaz, God was letting nations come at him. The king of Syria was going at him, killing many and taking captives. And then the northern 10-tribe kingdom, ruled by Pekah, the son of Remaliah, he had a go at him, and killing 120,000 in one day, mighty men. And then they carried away all these thousands, 200,000 prisoners, women, sons, and daughters to Samaria. Verse 9 says, But a prophet of Yahweh was there, whose name was Oded, and he went out to meet the army that came to Samaria, and said to them, Behold, because Yahweh, the God of your fathers, was angry with Judah, he has delivered them into your hand, and you have slain them in a rage which has reached up to heaven. Now you intend to degrade the children of Judah and Jerusalem as male and female slaves for yourselves. Aren't there even with you trespasses of your own against Yahweh your God? Now hear me, therefore, and send back the captives that you have taken captive from your brothers, for the fierce wrath of Yahweh is on you. Verse 12, Then some of these heads of the children of Ephraim, Azariah, the son of Johanan, Berechiah, the son of Meshillemoth, Jehezekiah, the son of Shallum, and Amasa, the son of Hadlai, stood up against those who came from the war, and said to them, You must not bring in the captives here, for you intend that which will bring on us a trespass against Yahweh. to add to our sins and to our guilt, for our guilt is great, and there is fierce wrath against Israel. So the armed men left the captives and the plunder before the princes and all the assembly. The men who have been mentioned by name rose up and took the captives, and with the plunder clothed all who were naked among them, dressed them, gave them sandals, gave them something to eat and to drink, anointed them, carried all the feeble of them on donkeys, and brought them to Jericho, the city of palm trees, to their brothers. Then they returned to Samaria. They inflicted this great damage on King Ahaz, and they were going to take all these captives and make them slaves. But the prophet came out and said, don't you have enough trespasses and sins against God that now you're going to add to it by making slaves of these ones? And so the men of war left the plunder and the captives to the men who told them that they were not going to bring them there to be slaves. And so what did they do? Did they just say, go on back home? No, before they did that, they took the plunder, they clothed these ones that were naked, they dressed them, gave them sandals, gave them something to eat and to drink, anointed them, carried all the feeble of them on donkeys, and brought them to Jericho, the city of palm trees. And so it is today with the European nations who have violated many times over in the wars that they've taken place in what they've done, all the while claiming to be Christian. They have much blood guilt. They were supposed to be focused on loving their enemies, but they engaged in carnal warfare, bloodshed, and they added to that guilt, just like these men here, making people slaves, taking their plunder, and abusing them, treating them horribly, and all the while claiming to be Christian. Imagine Paul and going forth, as Jesus said, to make disciples as he went to various places like Derbe and Illyricum and Berea and Lystra and places like that. And he said, well, now I've brought the message to you. Now you're going to be our slaves. You never find that happening anywhere in the Bible as they went from place to place, because they knew they were sent not to make slaves, but to make disciples. But these fake Christians, these Europeans who claim to be Christians, they were not so inclined to stick to what Jesus said. And they became guilty of what 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 8 through 11, being definitely an abomination to God. And even when they freed the slaves in America, what did they do? Did they do anything like here? Well, let's clothe them. Let's make sure they got sandals. Let's feed them. Let's make sure they get back home safely and everything. They do anything like that? No. Martin Luther King, he stated quite adequately. King stated that this disparity meant emancipation for black Americans was freedom to hunger, freedom to the winds and rains of heaven, freedom without food to eat or land to cultivate. And even today we see they continue in this as they have uplifted an administration that's bent on stripping any agency that would give them any help to deal with the continued discrimination that occurs in America. Therefore, judgment will come because of their evil. In verse 16, it says, at that time, King Ahaz sent to the kings of Assyria to help him. For again, the Edomites had come and struck Judah and carried away captives. The Philistines also had invaded the cities of the lowland and of the south of Judah, and had taken Beth-shemesh, Ajalon, Gederoth, Soko with its villages, Timnah with its villages, and also Gimzo and its villages, and they lived there. For Yahweh brought Judah low because of Ahaz, king of Israel, because he acted without restraint in Judah and trespassed severely against Yahweh. Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, came to him and gave him trouble, but didn't strengthen him. For Ahaz took away a portion of Yahweh's house, out of the house of the king and of the princes, and gave it to the king of Assyria, but it didn't help him. We look over in the Israeli government today, led by Netanyahu. Many have fallen for the deception that God restored these people back to this land, that these are God's people. They think that they can hide behind this so-called Israeli nation and claim to be Christian and support them and figure, well, we're going to get in with good with God by supporting this Jewish nation, this nation who is basically white and who treat those brown and black Jews as of no account. These ones that are accepted because they're white in that country, they think if they help them, they're going to get in good with God. But we know it's a deception because God never spoke of a restoration of them back to that land. And we can tell it's not from God because they don't have a temple. As Jesus said, stone will not be left upon stone. That's the first indication that they are a deception that many nations have fallen for. King Ahaz had to go to Assyria for help. It was an indication that God had left him. Because if God was with him, he wouldn't need Assyria. He would rely on God. The same thing we see with this fake Israel that we see in that land over the Middle East, is that they have to go to other nations to get help. Main nation they go to is who? America, showing they're not approved by God. The book of Revelation brings out there are ones in the synagogue claiming to be Jews, but they're not Jews. And these ones are not God's Jews. But God does have an Israel. And this Israel is based upon, not upon your skin color, whether you're brown, black, or white, or yellow. These ones are produced by the Spirit. It's a born-again process. Those who are willing to live by the Spirit, who have faith in Jesus, they are the children of Abraham, thus Israelites. Those who are true Christians don't fall for the deception that's happening in the Middle East. They know who the Israel of God is. And they will be identified by Jesus when he comes back. He will judge the sheep and the goats.